Lloyd Chuck and his followers presently came upon Ned Vince's unconscious form a mile from the city of Kar-Ra. In a flying machine they took him back and applied stimulants. He came to in the same laboratory room as before, but he was firmly strapped to a low platform this time, so that he could not escape again. There he lay, helpless, until presently an idea occurred to him. It gave him a few crumbs of hope. "Hey, somebody!" he called. "You'd better get some rest, Ned Vince," came the answer from the black box. It was Lloyd Chuck speaking again. "But listen," Ned protested. "You know, a lot more than we did in the 20th century, and, well, there's that thing called time travel that I used to read about. Maybe you know how to make it work. Maybe you could send me back to my own time after all." Little Lloyd Chuck was in a black, discouraged mood himself. He could understand the utter sick dejection of this giant from the past, lost from his own kind, probably insanity looming. In far less extreme circumstances than this, death from homesickness had come. Lloyd Chuck was a scientist, in common with all real scientists, regardless of the species from which they spring. He loved the subjects of his researches. He wanted this ancient man to live and to be happy, or this creature would be of scant value for study. So Lloyd considered carefully what Ned Vince had suggested. Time travel, almost a legend, an assault upon an intangible wall that had baffled far keener wits than Lloyd's. But he was bent now on the well-being of this anachronism. He had so miraculously resurrected this human, this Kali. Lloyd jabbed buttons on the black box. "Yes, Ned Vince," said the sonic apparatus. "Time travel. Perhaps that is the only thing to do, to send you back to your own period of history. For I see that you will never be yourself here. It will be hard to accomplish, but we'll try. Now I shall put you under an anesthetic." Ned felt better immediately, for there was real hope now, where there had been none before. Maybe he'd be back in his hometown of Harwich again. Maybe he'd see the old machine shop there, and the trees greening out in spring. Maybe he'd be seeing Betty Moore in Hurley soon. Ned relaxed as a tiny hypo needle bit into his arm. As soon as Ned Vince passed into unconsciousness, Lloyd Chuck went to work once more, using that pair of brain helmets again, exploring carefully the man's mind. After hours of research, he proceeded to prepare his plans. The government of Kar-Ra was a scientific oligarchy of which Lloyd was a prime member. It would be easy to get the help he needed. A horde of small, gray-furred beings and their machines toiled for many days. Ned Vince's mind swam gradually out of the blur that had enveloped it. He was wandering aimlessly in a familiar room. The girders of the roof above were of red-painted steel. His tool benches were there, greasy and littered with metal filings, just as they had always been. He had a tractor to repair, and a seed drill. Outside of the machine shop, the old familiar yellow sun was shining. Across the street was the small brown house where he lived. With a sudden startlement, he saw Betty Moore in the doorway. She wore a blue dress, and a mischievous smile curved her lips, as though she had succeeded in creeping up on him for a surprise. "Why, Ned," she chuckled, "you look as though you've been dreaming and just woke up." He grimaced ruefully as she approached. With a kind of fierce gratitude, he took her in his arms. Yes, she was just like always. "I guess I was dreaming, Betty," he whispered, feeling that mighty sense of relief. "I must have fallen asleep at the bench here and had a nightmare. I thought I had an accident at Pit Ben and that a lot of worse things happened. But it wasn't true." Ned Vince's mind, over which there was still an elusive fog that he did not try to shake off, accepted apparent facts simply. He did not know anything about the invisible radiations beating down upon him, soothing and dimming his brain, so that it would never question or doubt or observe too closely the incongruous circumstances that must often appear. The lack of traffic in the street without, for instance, and the lack of people besides himself and Betty. He didn't know that this machine shop was built from his own memories of the original. He didn't know that this Betty was of the same origin, a miraculous fabrication of metal and energy units and soft plastic. The trees outside were only lantern slide illusions. It was all built inside a great opaque dome. But there were hidden television systems, too. Thus Lloyd Chuck's kind could study this ancient man, this Kali. Thus their motives were mostly selfish. Loy, though, was not observing now. He had wandered far out into the cold, sad sea bottom to ponder. He squeaked and chattered to himself, contemplating the magnificent, inexorable march of the ages. He remembered the ancient ruins, left by the final supermen. "The Kaalleee believes himself home," Loy was thinking. "He will survive and be happy. But there was no other way. Time is an eternal wall. Our archaeological researches among the cities of the supermen show the truth. Even they who once ruled the earth never escaped from the present by so much as an instant." End of The Eternal Wall by Raymond Z. Galoon.